Okay, happy Wednesday and our fun lunch time. You know,
Yeah.
it's so funny. Did you see the picture that we created for this event? And it's called Ladies Who Lunch. And I don't know if you've ever seen that clip, but you got to look it up. It's really funny. So there's a little YouTube clip, and it's like a Broadway, like kind of little catchy thing where women do wine and lunch, and so it's so funny. I know it's really good. So I am here with Lily Gauthreux, and I am so excited that you guys are going to be able to get to know her a little bit today. And I started doing these kind of Saturday morning or lunchtime just girl power sessions where you can hear from women who are entrepreneurs as well as women working women working from home. And, we're seeing that so much right now that I think it's great to hear how women are doing it. How do you juggle everything? And so Lily is a mom of two adorable kids and recently relocated. And so just a lot going on. And just to kind of give a little bit of background and I love this piece of her story because I think always really probably wanting to be an entrepreneur, I think is kind of your story. But anyway, so she moved here from Russia when she was 8 years old, and she became a consultant and came into the company at the age of 21. And she replaced her full-time income from her job within 2 months of starting her business. And she earned her free car 2 months after that. And so I think when you catch on to something, you're so excited that when it's backed by a really good marketing plan and a really good company, you can run with it. And so I love that you had that energy right off the bat. And so before we get into that, I would love, Lily, if you would just share a little bit of your background, where you're from, and what, just kind of your backstory, a little backstory.
Yeah. So we moved here from Russia when I was 8, and having immigrant parents, it is a little bit different because my parents were very much like, you're going to be successful, you're going to work really hard, you're going to break through. And so I kind of didn't like, my parents weren't the ones that were like, you could do anything you want to do. My parents were more like, you can be a doctor, a lawyer, or a psychologist. Like, those are your 3 options. And which one do you want? And they just really wanted their kids to be very successful and independent. And so I grew up with kind of this pressure to do something amazing to impress my parents. And so, all in school, I graduated college early. I started working on my master's. So I chose psychology out of the 3 fields that were an option to me. And so I was getting my master's. I had just started my master's. My husband and I got married, and I kind of had my life figured out. Like, I had met my man, we had bought a home, we were young, we were married. I was starting to work on my master's. And I knew where I wanted to go. My dream was to own my own clinical psychology practice. That's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to be a prison psychologist for like a second. And then everyone was like, no, you're 5'1", and like, no, you're not going to do that. So I wanted to own my own practice, and that's the path that I was on. Like, I was really just pursuing that. I was out of the house about 85 hours a week because I was doing my master's. I was working full-time and working part-time. So I was never home. I was extremely busy, miserable, but really busy, and was not looking for anything. Like, if you were to say, are you looking for an opportunity? I would have said, absolutely not. And if you were to say, are you happy with where you are? I would have said, absolutely not. And so I just didn't even realize that gap could be filled. So I wasn't looking for anything. So that's kind of where I was at.
Wow. Now, isn't it funny how in the generation of your parents, my parents, it was all about those doctor, lawyer, like those things was deemed successful.
Yep.
And, entrepreneurship was kind of like, ooh, why would you do that? It was so frowned upon. And now, it's completely different. But so at that point, while you were driving really hard to succeed, well, first off, what made you choose psychology?
Hmm.
A lot of people are choosing that these days too, and there's not a lot available for that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want there to be a lot available for that, you have to have a lot of education, especially if you want to make good money. And so that's why I was getting my master's, and then my plan was to move on and get my PhD and, have my own practice. But honestly, lawyer, like, I don't like to argue with people. I don't like to debate. I'm more like, I tend to be more people pleasing, passive. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. Right. And, doctor, became, I kind of crossed that out early on because I realized how much science you had to do. And I was like, well, that's too much. And so that was my third option. And I loved people. I communicated well. And I thought, well, I could do that. I could do that. And so that's what I landed on. And the ironic thing about, entrepreneurship is that my parents were both entrepreneurs my entire life. And so for them to, in a way, discourage that was really funny because they were very successful entrepreneurs. And so, yeah, that was like a really fun, interesting story. So starting my business was the first thing I ever did without my parents' approval. Like the first thing in my life I ever did that I was like, oh, they're not going to like that.
Well, it's funny because I thought that was your background, that they were entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So, but the American dream is you've got this opportunity, these other opportunities that, maybe you didn't have, from your country. And so that is interesting. So, but it was in your blood, so you couldn't get away from it. And so, well, how long did it take for them to, okay, so two things is, I'll ask one more thing of the parents, and then I want to transition to kind of like, oh my gosh, when did the light bulb go off? But how long did it take for them to jump on board and be cool with it?
So my dad is a total dreamer. Like, he really is. He's a dreamer. And so I think he just kind of hitched his wagon to my mom's opinion in a way, because as soon as he found out what I was doing, I was so scared to tell them. And as soon as he found out what I was doing, he was like, you're going to be amazing. You're going to do like what I won't be able to do because you have the language and you have, so he was like real excited right away. My mom was not. My mom was like, what have you done? Go return everything immediately. Like, this is so embarrassing. Like, what are you doing? You're getting your master's. You're going to have a real job. And so I actually had to make a bet with my mom. And I just said, hey, your opinion really matters to me and it weighs heavily on me, but I'm doing this thing. And right now it's causing a wedge between you and I. And so give me a month, give me 30 days. If I don't make $1,000 in my first 30 days, I will quit and we'll never talk about it again. But you gotta give me 30 days without your opinion, without your criticism. You gotta give me 30 days. And I did, you guys. I was so busy. And I was so busy, and I made like a little Excel spreadsheet, and I held 4 appointments, and I profited $1,200 my first month. And I remember like the sense of pride when I was like that. And anyway, so it took her a while. It actually was not until I earned my first pink Cadillac, and my mom didn't. So usually, when you earn a pink Cadillac, it's a big deal, right? And your family comes, and there's flowers and cake, and there's this unveiling, and it's this beautiful moment. So my mom actually didn't want to come. So she didn't come. And so after I picked up my first pink Cadillac, I drove to her job because I was like, you will be proud of me, woman. So I drove to her job and just like parked out front. And she came out, you guys, and I could see that everything was going to be different. And from that moment that she saw that pink Cadillac drive up, she has been the most proud, supportive, on board person. And I always tell people I did what I did because of her, because I wanted to earn her respect and I wanted to earn her pride. And I didn't care what it was going to take. It was like, until you're proud of me, I'm not going to stop.
Right. Oh, that's so awesome. And there is something about a tangible victory, is that when you actually see the car, because I remember that my very first free car, just the light bulb that went off and people around me that went, oh, right, like real, they gave you that? And I'm like, I earned that sucker.
Yes.
And it is something nobody can take from you because of this trophy on wheels. And it really is something, isn't it? So crazy. And, I'll back up. I did not even introduce myself. Like, my name is Cindy Mack, everybody. And I'm interviewing Lily because we both are leaders in this company, and we believe in empowering women at whatever level. If you're a client and you need inspiration for your dreams, we believe in that. We believe in women supporting women in their own businesses. If you're a consultant just getting started and you're going, "Hoorah, what have I done?" Maybe hearing stories will help. Or if you're a consultant that's struggling, we all entrepreneurs know that to work for yourself, it grows you, and growth is painful.
Yeah.
Good pain, just like when you're, working out and when you're doing different things that grow you, studying, it's a good thing. And so I love this type of a platform to be able to share women who have gone before you. And so, Lily, you being a young woman and succeeding and accomplishing so much at such a young age, what are some of okay, so two questions. What are some of the things that were maybe the biggest hurdles early on for you? But before that, how did you know, like you said yes to this and you were so busy? So what made it click for you to go, you know what, I know I'm so busy, but I'm going to go for it. Yeah. And then two, what were some of those early hurdles?
Yeah. So I was at a skincare class and I had zero interest in anything that was happening. Total tomboy. Washed my face with a shampoo that dripped down my face when I was taking a shower, like just zero. I mean, no interest in anything. My friend was like, "Hey, can you come?" And I was like, "I guess," And so I went and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." We tried the product on our hand and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I bought a couple things to be nice. And the lady was like, "Hey, can I tell you what I do?" And I said, "No." And she was like, "Oh," so she said, "Well, if I give you a free makeup remover, would you just sit down and talk to me for 20 minutes? Like, I know you're not interested, but just hear me out." And I said, "Well, if you know I'm not interested and you're going to give me something free, like, sure, I'll meet with you." And so I went into the appointment with a really bad attitude. I had a really bad day at work. I called my husband on the way and I was like, I had a stupid day. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever had a stupid day, but I did. I had a stupid day. I woke up in the morning and everything was stupid. I knew the day was going to be stupid. My boss was stupid. I was already angry, like just like from the get-go. Right. And so I called my husband and I said, "It has been a stupid day. And now I have to meet with this stupid Mary Kay lady. Like, this is just not my jam today." Right. "It's okay. Like, I'll have your sweatpants ready when you come home. Like, you can do this." And so I go to this appointment and I'm meeting with her and I'm sitting there and I'm like, she is so happy. And it was kind of annoying because I was so not there. Yeah. And I was just like, she's really happy. Like, this isn't just like a thing. Like, she's really happy. And so I started really just listening to the words that she was saying. And there was two things that she said that for me just really stood out. So at that time, we had more month than money. If you don't know what that means, congratulations. That's an amazing thing. If you do know what that means, it sucks. And so I'm sitting there, like, barely being able to afford the Starbucks I'm drinking, and she says, "If your boss right now said, if you just work an extra 3 to 5 hours a week, I'll give you $1,000 raise, what would you say?" And I was like, well, I would say yes. Like, that's a significant amount of money. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but 95% of American families could use an extra $500 to $1,000 a month. And so I was one of the 95%. And then the second thing that she said was, "Lily, I don't care what you know, and I don't care who you know. If you're willing to learn, I will teach you to make a 6-figure income." And I just thought, that's a super bold statement. Yeah. And I'm getting my master's. I'm going to be in debt because I have student loans. I'm going to be working for someone else for a while. How long will it really be by the time I'm debt-free and making a six-figure income? And here's this lady who I happen to enjoy being around. I don't know why, okay, but I enjoy being around her. And she's telling me that I don't have to know anything. I don't have to have a skill set. I clearly don't look the part. I don't feel the part, but she's going to teach me. And one thing I knew is I was willing to learn. And so I called my husband back and he's like, "How was it?" Like, scared because I was angry that day. And I was like, "I'm going to drive a pink Cadillac and it's going to be amazing." And he was like, did she drug you? Like,
Oh
what?
no, where's my wife?
What is going on? And so I got home and she had given me a CD. If you don't know what a CD is, okay, Google it. She had given me a CD and I popped it in for my husband when I got home and we listened to it together, and it was someone's Mary Kay story. And he listened to it and he was like, you're going to drive a pink Cadillac and it's going to be amazing. And so then he was on board. And, you know, I started out just really dipping my toes in the water. Like I just committed to holding one appointment every week. That was non-negotiable for me. So I just did it 3 hours a week because I really didn't have the time or the capacity. So I did 3 hours a week. My first month profited $1,200. My second month, the only thing I did differently was I got a couple of people on my team because people were like, you're not as angry and you seem to have more money. What's happening with you?
Yeah.
And so my second month, I actually doubled my profits and I made $2,200. And so doing the same, you know, the same thing basically. And so it started out kind of slow. Like I didn't come in doing the work like I was going to take over the Mary Kay world. You know, I came in just really being like, I just need a little bit to have a little bit of extra. And so that was kind of my light bulb. And honestly, once that second month, once I made over $2,000 and I realized I was working a 10th of the time and I was making almost the same as I was working full time, I was like, oh, this is crazy. Something's got to change. And so then I was able to pick it up and do more. And as far as the hurdles, honestly, it was my own head. Like I had every excuse. Again, I was a tomboy. I didn't know a lot of people. My mom wasn't on board. So it added to my insecurity of like telling people what I was doing. I thought I didn't have the time. I was really insecure. And so for me to approach people or to meet new people was very difficult. Like I was holding myself back from that. And so it was me, like it was all me, you know. Once I actually did what I was trained to do, and I actually, even when it was a little bit, like when I just did it correctly, my results were so good. And that built my confidence and it allowed me to do more.
Yeah. Do you feel like in the beginning, it's hard to follow the directions of your coach? Like why do we resist that training or coaching?
You know, I think two things, in my opinion. Number one is pride. Number two is self-preservation. So like for me, I was so insecure. It was easier to cut corners and it was easier to ask in the way I wanted to ask because I was less likely to get a yes, quite frankly. And so I think it was self-preservation. And then number two, I think is pride. I think especially when you do have someone with an entrepreneurial spirit, they're like, well, I know what I'm doing. Well, I can do it better than you. And the thing was, I had to really understand that I had never built a business like this before. And I knew other stuff. And I was in a management position in my other job. And so I had a skill set, but there was no way that I could use that current skill set to build a successful business. And so I had to realize that I was starting from the ground up. And then I just had to realize that this is a part of my training. And once I flipped that switch in my brain, you know, in the self-preservation, the way that I stopped doing that was I thought, I don't want to look back on this and be like, I did everything I could and it didn't work. Like, I want to look back and be like, I did everything that lady told me to do. So it's her fault if I don't do it right. I didn't want to be like, I did my own thing and it didn't work because I don't know what I'm doing. Right. And so for me, it was kind of like, I'm going to listen to her and do everything she tells me to do. And then if it doesn't work, at least I know it's not my fault. It's not my fault. Right. You know, I earned a car. So, you know, I showed her.
Yeah, that's a good way to show her. You know, the people who, I think sometimes it's really difficult for high achievers, for people who have been successful at other things, to come in and be open to a new thought and a new approach to success or to tackling a goal. Because, you know, when you've gone through successes, you gain ideas and confidence in, I know what I put in, when I put my mind to something, I could do it. And that can get in the way. It could be great, and it can also get in the way. Now, you say that you had, you know, you were insecure, but yet you have been successful in other things. So you were confident.
Yeah.
Because I can understand how you're probably confident, but had some insecurities.
Yeah, it's like I was confident about like what I brought to the table as far as my work ethic, what I could accomplish, you know, things like that. But as far as like vulnerability or like physical appearance, or especially vulnerability with women, very, very insecure in those ways. So I had always done things like more independently, where I could be independent, like my success wasn't dependent on anyone else, if that makes sense. So, yeah. So I definitely had confidence as far as like leadership, and I was a manager and that type of thing. But
you could tell them what to do and they had to do it because they were right. There's a difference between that influence, like you said, being vulnerable to learn how to influence versus learn how to lead authoritatively. Yeah, very different.
But I tell people now, like when people come in and they are entrepreneurial or they've had businesses before, like a great example is I planted a garden last year, and it was the first time I had ever planted a garden. And so no matter how skilled or whatever, proficient I am in the business entrepreneurial world, I had no idea what I was doing when it came to gardening. And so I had to tell my mom, like, well, what kind of soil do I buy? Well, how big of a hole do I dig? Well, when do I plant this? Well, how do I water it? Well, and so you have to realize that anytime you're developing a new skill, anytime you're developing a new business, even if you've developed another business, you're like a little baby preschooler, And so for me, I would rather have my foundation be taught well by someone who's gone before me and is successful than me try to go make my garden on my own the way I think and not have any crops, or whatever.
And it's so funny, like you may be, you were describing yourself like a little bit resistant in the beginning to learning, but it takes me forever to realize, like it took me 10 years before I really like started listening to anybody. Like that's how stubborn I am. And then I'll give you another example. It's so funny you said about gardening. I'm like, I was that way with cooking. So people will go, oh, you could make this. It's so easy. I'm like, I don't even know what a pan is. Like, and so people would think that I was kidding, but I'm like, what's a sauce? What's the difference between a sauce pan or this or a simmer and a dash? Like, so I had to be, which I've never had a problem asking questions, but you have to be, when you're new at something, not afraid to ask what seems like a dumb question, because if you know nothing, you know nothing.
For sure.
So, but what's so good? So what when you found that as you started to, you knew nothing about makeup or beauty products or anything like that because you were a tomboy. So how hard was it to learn that part of the business, and how?
It was so insanely easy. Like I remember, so you get a flip chart in your kit, and I seriously remember sitting someone down. I hadn't even opened my starter kit. Like I was opening it in front of her, and I was like, hey, okay, you sit. And it was at the laundry room of my job. Okay. And I was like, hey, you sit here and I'll sit here. And I pulled out the flip chart because it was right on top. And then I handed her my kit. Okay. Now I don't recommend doing this. This is what I do. Okay. I handed her my kit and I said, okay, I'm going to read this to you. And as I go through, you pull out stuff that I'm talking about and find it and use it. So she ended up packing my starter kit.
Probably fun for her, right?
Oh my gosh. I think about it now and I'm like, what a mess. And at the end, I was like, okay, we're done. And she was like, well, how do I order? And I was like, you want to buy stuff? Like I was so confused. And so then I realized the product must be really good because I'm not. Like I'm not
with me, right?
And so for me, it was just repetition and reading it and getting comfortable with it and using the product myself. But I was so shocked at how much information that people want to hear is right there in that flip chart. And then just by me using the product, they would say, well, how long does it last? Well, I could tell you because I use it. Well, how does it feel? Well, I can tell you because I use it. And so it was really easy. And then makeup became, I wore very little makeup, like powder and mascara, like powder because I had really bad acne. So like just to cover it up, and mascara just because I have blonde eyelashes, and that's all I wore. And so for me, it became so fun because becoming a consultant actually opened the door for me to receive really cool makeup training for free. And I just thought, oh my gosh, it's not that I don't want to wear makeup. It's just I never knew how. And I didn't want to look like an idiot. So I just wore nothing because I would rather not have it look weird. And so I loved, like as a consultant, going to events and learning for myself. And then once I learned to do my brows, I could totally teach you to do your brows, And so it was a lot easier than I thought it would be, honestly.
So cool. So fast forward. So you left your job and then you eventually transitioned to this full time, and you were married with no children.
Mm-hmm.
So how did things change for you through the seasons and now virtually?
Yeah, for sure. So I had always wanted babies. Like I just always wanted to be a mama. That was just something that was always on my heart. And I wanted to have kids young. I don't know why that was on my heart. Maybe because I wanted them out of the house when I was young. I don't know.
Right.
Anyway, and so I moved into leadership and I was doing good. Like I had replaced my other income. I was probably working half the time, making the same amount of money. So I was like, this is cool. And so then I thought, well, there's room for a baby here because I'm only working, this many hours. Right. And so we had our first baby and my income grew tremendously when that happened. I was expecting to be, drowning and like, how am I going to make it work? And my income doubled. I mean, literally the month after I had him, my income doubled and then it just kept growing. So when Lucas was 4 months old, we earned the second level car. And then when he turned 1, we had earned the pink Cadillac. And so I think honestly, it gave me this fierce this reason to just want so much for him and to never want to feel like he was the reason I didn't. Like, I just wanted him to feel like he was the reason I did. Wow. And just suddenly what I was doing wasn't good enough anymore. Like, I was like, no, I want more for him and I want him to see more. And so I literally, as soon as we had kids, it grew, which I know is a lot of people's fear, and for me, that just wasn't my story because I was meant to have babies and I knew they would give me like more of a purpose, and so.
Let me kind of pause that because that's a big deal. And here's how I translate it is that you saw the bigger picture of their life versus you saw the moments, the immediate, but you saw the bigger picture versus getting stuck in that moment of, I need to meet their every need and I have to be there, all the time with them, understanding that the more you grew yourself, the more it expanded their world for the future, really is what I'm hearing.
And, I just think it depends how you're wired. Like for me, I need an identity for me to be a good mom. Like I need to feel confident and powerful in order for me to be a good mom to my kids. And so what I noticed is that when I did better for me, I was way better for them. And so especially when he was little, like I remember, just sending a couple text messages out when he was napping. Like I wouldn't say that I was doing anything extreme. It's just, I became more intentional with my time. When he napped, I worked. And he went to bed at 7. So then I could have an appointment, after he went to bed. And so I didn't even really miss any time with him. Like maybe an hour a day, maybe. Wow. I mean, it's not like I was gone all the time because I was super present in his life, but it was more that I knew that the better I am, like for me to have achievement or adult interaction or like bring home money or then I was so much better. If I had no reason to take my sweatpants off for 14 days, like I was not a good mom anymore. I was miserable.
Right.
And so,
I think women realize how much they need.
Yeah.
We put so much pressure to actually meet someone else's need, but if yours isn't being met, you're setting yourself up to fail.
100%.
And not to say that stay-at-home moms, you can't be great moms, but I definitely see a difference. There's a lot going on in my house right now. It's really funny. So yeah. So let me ask you a question, and then that way I can pay the lawn person. Now let's transition. We're working virtually. We're looking at this opportunity. You've been in the company now for 11 years. You've worked in a lot of different ways. And now, what are you doing?
Yeah. So it was honestly, I'm so grateful that we were able to have this transition. Like, am I grateful that all this COVID stuff happened? Absolutely not. But what I've noticed is I'm working less and making more, and I will never not be grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
My people are working less and making more. Like last month, we had a 28% increase over 2019.
Wow.
And I think like to have a 30% increase and we're not leaving our homes, which means you're not driving. There's not as much prep time. There's not, I mean, we're saving hours and hours every single week and making 30% more. Like that's pretty darn exciting. And so for me, I think it was like a moment of panic and realizing that the way I've been doing things for 10 years is going to have to change. And then once I embraced it and we hacked it and we figured it out, I've been so grateful for it. And what I'm really grateful is that moving forward, I legitimately can teach someone how to build a huge booming business working from home, not working from home, like leaving once in a while, like straight up working from home. Like if you cannot leave your house for the next 2 years, I can teach you how to make killer money. And I don't know that I could say that before all this happened. Not because it wasn't possible, but because I hadn't hacked it. I hadn't spent the time to figure it out.
Yeah, ditto.
That we did spend the time to figure it out. It's a game changer and it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the interesting thing that I've been saying lately is that, our whole philosophy in Mary Kay is about relationship. And so we have always stressed to our people is that the way that you build is by being in the space of people, because you build a connection, you build relationship, and that's how you have a loyalty, I really believe. But then what happens is I think because we did that so well.
Yep.
We didn't realize we were missing a whole avenue. And so being able to do the virtual has become so natural because we already knew how to do relationship.
100%.
So I believe that not only have our products improved we did so much, the company did so much over the last 5 years of building a new manufacturing plant that is green, no landfill. It is the highest producing in innovation and science and research in this new facility in Dallas. So they put all this money into that, all the product upgrades that we've had. Then COVID happens and we were ready because of that. And so I love hearing that you've seen an increase, and it's allowed people to be able to function at home with the kids at home and make more. And so what would you have to say in just closing minutes of right now, looking at this opportunity and where our world is right now of so much uncertainty? What is your advice to someone if they were looking at this as an option?
Yeah, I think number one, don't say no because it looks different than what you thought your life was going to look like, or what you would ever try. Like for me, I almost said no because it came in pink packaging and, had bows on it. I mean, I almost said no. And I had no idea the opportunity that awaited. And so number one, I would just say, if anything has been stirring in your heart, that doesn't mean you need to think about it. That means you need to do it. And the bottom line is I hear so many people say well, what if I don't sell anything? And I'm like, okay, well, I don't think I've ever seen that happen. But if you happen to be the one person who's just terrible and you don't sell anything, then you get $400 with the product for $100. I mean, I guarantee you right now, if Cindy, if you got a text message from Target that said, hey, come in right now in the next 30 minutes and get $400 worth of stuff for $100, your stream would be turned off right now. You would be gone.
Right.
So, for me, it's you're starting a Mary Kay business means you're seeing if it's something that you're going to enjoy. It's not a marriage. It's like a first date. And so you go on a first date and you decide if you want there to be a second date. And so I would just say, if it's been stirring or something kind of piqued your interest, just try it because it fits so many lifestyles, so many people. You can put in the time that you want. You can train as fast or as slow as you want. I mean, it literally can be what you want it to be for you. And for me during this time, there's been so much out of my control. Every morning I wake up and it's you don't know what news you're going to wake up to. Right. And that's terrifying, you guys. It is. But my business and the Lord have been the constant in my life, And so it does, it gives you this normalcy and something to celebrate and something to look forward to and somewhere where you can win. And I just think that's so needed. It has protected my mental health in a way that, I mean, I don't even know where I would be right now if I didn't have my business. And so I think now more than ever, people need a plan B. And you can start, I know I said it's $100, but you can start as low as $30 now, which is like, I don't even know. I don't even know.
I keep thinking, all right, so for $30, so I'm going to give you scoop, guys, as we wind down. And if you want more information, there's definitely a lot more detailed information. I wanted this to be just inspiring to see that someone who was in college on one pathway was taken in another direction because she was open to an opportunity that gave her more freedom than she could have ever imagined, 6-figure income and traveling all over the world. Because one of the first conversations I ever had with Lily, we were in China for Mary Kay's 50th anniversary. So we both had earned the top director trip, and we were there and able to sit and chat before one of our gatherings. And I just was in awe of this young 20-something-year-old who earned the trip, and shortly after earned the title of National Sales Director, which is the highest position in our company, and that's leaders who develop and lead leaders. And so Lily has just been able to build something and a 6-figure income with 2 little ones at home. So here's the deal for June: $30 to get started as a virtual consultant. So that gives you a free, I know you probably have kids around you.
It's so funny. It's so funny because we're supposed to go to the pool. So my office has a window. They're all standing outside the window like
just like this, 2 minutes. So this 30, so wait, they can wave if they want to, though. So I'm taking my mom away from you. But for anyone who is looking at this and being in an environment where I can reach out to a friend like Lily and say, hey, what are you doing? Let's brainstorm. Or, hey, you want to jump on and have this talk to inspire women? And we can. And she lives in, now she lives in Mississippi. Is that right?
No, West Arkansas.
Arkansas, the same thing to me. Sorry. So she's in Arkansas and I'm in Texas, and most of my consultants are in New York and New Jersey, and she's got a lot in California on the West Coast. And so it's really cool to be able to have this conversation. But if you're looking at this, $30 gets you a virtual starter kit that gives you a website, a free website that your clients can shop at, as well as a free credit card processing system that normally costs about $40 a year. You get it for free for a year. This is if you want to trial run and you want to just work it virtually online. We'll teach you how to do that. If you want to combine that with the $100 starter kit, you'll also get $450 worth of product for only $100. And so you can combine the two so that you can work virtually, but in areas that you can do face-to-face and small gatherings, then you can work it that way, or it just gives you some product for you to use yourself. But I tell you, I agree with Lily. If you're kind of thinking about it, you are in no worse shape at all by getting the $100 or the $30 or both kit to see a sneak peek from the inside. You will be no worse off. If anything, you'll have the product to use yourself. You'll have access to 50%. So as a consultant, you make 50% of everything that you sell, and then your income goes up and you earn the use of the free car as you start to build a little tribe of women who are doing it alongside each other. And as you build that team, the company pays you more. And so being able to enjoy, both of us, 6 figures for a very long time, it has been a blessing to our family. And not only that, the ability to be able to give that away, to be able to say, I can show you too. It's not just for me, like you get a job, you get a promotion, and that promotion is a one slot, one play. You can't help someone else get that same position because you took it. But with this, I can help, Lily can help anyone get our position, and we all win. It's a win-win environment, and I love that too. So I appreciate you jumping on here and sharing and visiting, and you enjoy the pool with the kids. And I'm sure that more will be able to enjoy this recording. So I appreciate that too. So thank you again. Have a good day.